Buckle up, Buttercup. Let's go. How's it going out there in Los Angeles right now? Pretty exciting, right? Or pretty chaotic. Wow. So a lot of people are concerned about the riots in Los Angeles and the response. It's interesting, the division. But you know what? The more people I talk to, it seems like the extremists that are calling these riots peaceful protests, people are starting to wake up to that. They're, like, nah, I don't think it's a peaceful protest when you're lighting cars on fire. Not so much. Not a good idea. Pretty bad idea, actually. So I've been doing some research and I found a very interesting Craigslist ad that is, or it was, it's actually been flagged for removal, but I've got a screenshot and I'm going to share that with you. Hey, Alien Allen, how the hell are you, man? It's good to see you. John, SK, the Flavor Maven, Retro, nice to see you all. Okay, you got to stay for this entire presentation because this is wild. So check this out. The first thing I'm going to share with you is a screenshot from Craigslist. Remember Craigslist? It used to be really popular until Amazon and, anyway. So I think Craigslist it's been around for, over 20 years. But look at this job posting for general labor, Central Los Angeles. Looking for the toughest badasses in the city. Los Angeles, private. Seeking extremely tough, brave men for new crew I'm building. Compensation, $6,500 to $12,500 per week. We're forming a select team of the toughest dudes in the area. This unit will be activated only when the situation demands it, but you get paid every week no matter what. High pressure, high risk, no room for hesitation. We need individuals who do not break, panic, or fold under stress and are basically all around kick-ass dudes. Physical strength, speed, conditioning is important, but mental toughness is everything. If you're not the biggest guy in the room, but you're the one who people follow when things go bad, that's who we're looking for. We're recruiting those who are already hard, badass, and ready for confrontation when necessary. However, we can train you if necessary. What we're looking for. Mental toughness, you keep a level head under pressure, you don't panic. Bravery, you face danger head on, you don't hesitate. Interesting. So, disclaimer, folks, this job posting on Craigslist is no longer there. What this job posting is for exactly, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation that this job posting is actually for the riots and the extreme protests in certain areas in LA, but we can't confirm that yet. So we're going to get back into this in a minute. I'm also going to share, did you know that there's a map of other cities for planned protests that could get violent? This is very interesting. So I would say keep an even kill mind. Be prepared, not scared, and do not do anything stupid. Because I have a feeling these idiots that are creating violence and chaos on the streets in LA, even though some of them have been getting away with it until now, I have a feeling it's not going to last much longer, and they're going to clamp down really hard on these riots and these protests. And I actually have a theory about this overall, this media push where you've got the left saying, oh, it's mainly peaceful protests while cars are getting lit on fire in the background. Yeah, not so much. And so you're going to have these two extremes. You're going to have people that are like, yes, bring in the Marines, bring in the National Guard. And then you're going to have the other side. They're saying, oh, it's against the Constitution. Don't do it. It's just peaceful protests. There's just a couple bad apples out there. Well, what happens is when you have psychopaths and sociopaths behind the scenes with a ton of money that want to fund these riots, things can get pretty insane. Things can get pretty nasty. You can put a group of 100 people together and their IQs will literally drop on average, not always, but on average by about 10 to 15 points. It depends on the kind of situation that it is. Real quick, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Noble Gold Investments. Right now might be a better time than any to look at gold and silver and precious metals. Also, if you've got a 401 or an IRA, if you convert your 401 or IRA, if you start qualifying IRA or 401 through Noble Gold Investments, they will gift you a 10-ounce solid silver bar, American flag, at no additional cost. Just give them a call, 1-877-646-5347. Let them know Rex from Leak Project sent you, and start building up your metals bank. So we've still got big banks usurping gold at almost record levels. Hedge fund managers are recommending precious metals, which is almost unprecedented. You've got big banks, hedge fund managers, and actually just everyday people that want to secure their retirement and secure their monies that are getting into metals, gold, silver. Platinum's doing really good right now. So give them a call, 1-877-646-5347. You'll thank me later. You'll be glad you did. And let's get into this presentation right now. So how's your day going? Hope you're having a nice day so far. I want to do a screen share with you on some of this, but let me give you the details first, and then I'm going to show you the map of the planned protests. Planned protests, they call it. Currently, there's 700 Marines and about 4,000 National Guard troops deployed in LA. President Donald Trump ordered the deployment of both the Marines and the National Guard troops. How do you feel about that? And how do you feel about people like, so I saw this, I see some of these videos that are being posted on the mainstream news and social media. Like an example, there's this guy that's got a mask on. He's standing on top of a car that's burning, and he's got this Mexican flag that he's waving back and forth. And he's like, Viva la Mexico. First of all, I love Mexico. I have many friends from Mexico. I think Mexico is awesome. But why the hell are you going to be protesting in America with a Mexican flag, being a psychopath? Unless you're trying to obviously burn some kind of subconscious and subliminal imaging into people, that's going to have a huge effect. It looked like a video scene. It looked like somebody was out there that was like, okay, cute. Remember that film where they were trying to sell a house in the woods? So the real estate agent knew somebody was coming to check out the house. So the real estate agent had some friends that had fake deer in the background. And then when the people came to look at the house, the real estate agent was like, cue the deers. And so people were walking behind these cardboard deers, and they're like, and then the people that were looking at buying the house saw the fake deer and they thought they were real. And they're like, oh, look how cute it is. It's deer. Cue the deer. Cue the deer. Let's just use that as a metaphor. Cue the deer, right? Cue the deer. So we've got National Guard troops. We've got the Marines. I've got a good friend that's a Marine. My best friend growing up in school ended up joining the Marines right out of high school. And he was kicking ass. He was working with Delta Force, working with Navy SEALs, Green Berets, the cutting edge in special forces, the cream of the crop overseas. And I asked him about this. I said, so what do you think about this? And he gave me his opinion. And I'll share a little bit of that with you here shortly. So we've got 700 Marines, 4,000 National Guard approximately. And the deployment is obviously in response to the protests against Trump's immigration policies and the increased presence of federal immigration enforcement agents in LA. Well, now you've got Newsom saying he wants to sue the Trump administration, according to the news. And then there's another news article that I saw that came out that said President Trump would be happy arresting Newsom. I mean, here we go. We've got another feud, right? First it was Trump and Elon, or Trump and Musk, and now it's President Trump and Governor Newsom. And I just saw a photo of Gavin, and I want to share it with you shortly. Like, he was doing a press conference or something like that. But I looked at the photo, and the first thing I thought of, the very first thing that came into my mind was, anyway, I'll share it with you, and I want to get your first response. I want to see if you thought the same thing I did when you saw that image. It was just like, yeah. So what are the roles of the Marines and the National Guard right now? Primarily tasked with protecting federal personnel, property, including federal immigration agents. They're integrated within Task Force 51, commanded by Major General Scott M. Sherman, and have been trained in de-escalation, crowd control, and rules of force. While they are deployed in response to protests, officials have stated that their role is to protect federal buildings and personnel, and they are not intended to patrol streets or detain protesters unless necessary for self-defense. Their weapons are not loaded with ammunition, though they are carrying it for self-defense. California Governor Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass have voiced objections to the deployment, calling it a blatant abuse of power and a move that could potentially exacerbate the situation. Governor Newsom has vowed to sue the Trump administration over the deployment of the California National Guard, which he argues is an awful federalization. The LAPD also expressed concerns about the lack of formal notification and coordination regarding the deployment, citing logistical and operational challenges. You've got the Marines from the 2nd Battalion, the 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division, based in 29 Palms, California. They are integrating with National Guard troops within Task Force 51. So, interesting. Now, check this out. When I did a search for that job posting that I just shared, I'll share the job posting with you again, and then we're going to go to Craigslist to see if we can find it. Okay? Okay. So this is the job posting. If you scroll up here, you can see it does show Central LA, General Labor, looking for the toughest badasses in city of Los Angeles. I already read this, so I'm not going to read it again. So I looked for this post. I didn't find this post anymore because it was taken down. But what's there now, what we've got there now is, let me show you. Boom. As you can see, it's not there anymore. It was flagged. Posting has been flagged for removal. It's not there anymore. This is very interesting. This is the map of planned protests in large cities. So you may want to look at who's backing this and who's funding this. I've got some ideas, but I'm not going to say them here. You've got a multitude of events: Chicago, Seattle, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Denver, Boston, Pittsburgh, Raleigh, North Carolina, Atlanta, Charlotte, Harrisburg, New York City, Twin Cities, Minneapolis, Salem, Oregon, New Orleans, Sacramento, Philadelphia, Las Vegas, Frederick. Is that Maryland? I think so. We've got Wisconsin, New Mexico, Santa Fe, Oregon. It's probably close to Portland. Yep, Portland, of course. Medford, Oregon. Asheville, Jacksonville, Owensboro, Kentucky, Detroit, Cleveland, Ohio, Missoula, Montana, Bradenton, Florida, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Free David is what these raids, or what they're calling the website. Free David end raids, they say. Very, very, very interesting. We will keep you posted. So I also did some more research. I'm like, okay, how many times has the National Guard been deployed on U.S. soil? And here's a few to mention. Little Rock 9, Arkansas. Eisenhower sent 1,000 troops from the 101st Airborne to enforce school integration. And then 1967 and 1968, there were race riots in Detroit, Chicago, D.C. Tens of thousands of National Guard troops were activated. And do you remember the Rodney King riots? I sure do. I was just a little kid. I was at school, or actually, let me rephrase that. I was at home. I was playing hooky from school. And I remember turning on the TV, and it's Rodney King. And Rodney King's getting interviewed by the news, and he's like, "Can't we all just get along?" Remember that saying? And then all the riots were just crazy for weeks. Well, there was a lot going on back in 92 as well. 10,000 National Guards, federal troops, including Marines and the Army, were deployed in 1992. So this isn't a first, folks. This isn't the first time this has happened. This isn't unprecedented, like some people are saying. I was listening to this crazy lady berate the National Guard when they were just standing there in a video yesterday. And she's like, this is unconstitutional. This is wrong. Ah! And they're just kind of looking at her, And I'm like, how do you know this is unconstitutional? Because actually, a lot of people could argue it's not unconstitutional and it's happened before. But it's also a slippery slope. So when you have a bunch of psychopaths throwing rocks at police cars, though, I think it's a pretty good idea to bring the National Guard in if the sheriffs and the local police departments can't clean things up. I don't think that's a bad idea. Do you? However, if you've got a situation where every time there's a little hiccup or every time somebody at a specific level sees a problem, they send in the National Guards or the Marines, yeah, it could be a problem. But as of right now, it seems like a pretty normal response, in my opinion. So then we also had the 2005 Hurricane Katrina event, massive Guard deployment for relief and law enforcement. I remember that very well. That was a nightmare. Even at the arena where people were supposed to be safe, it was more of a jungle battle zone in the arena than outside of it in many circumstances. And then obviously in 2020, the George Floyd protests, National Guard deployed in over 30 states, folks, 30 states in 2020. So this is not unprecedented. Now, obviously having the Marines deployed is very rare because of the Posse Comitatus Act from 1878, which restricts federal troops and law enforcement roles. The 92 riots, though, did see 2,000 Marines deployed from Camp Pendleton, along with Army troops under the Insurrection Act authorization. Now, if 700 Marines are being deployed now, which they are, it is the first time since the 92 LA riots. So then you look at the legal framework for military use. The Posse Comitatus Act prohibits military from acting as domestic law enforcement. And then you've got the Insurrection Act, allows the president to deploy active duty military domestically in case of rebellion or unrest that hinders law enforcement. So there you go. Remember the film that just came out, what was it, last year? Yeah, from 2024. Civil War. It's a dystopian action thriller film written and directed by Alex Garland. I was talking a little bit about this yesterday. It's perfect timing, right? Perfect timing. Let's have it come out a year before these riots in LA. It'll be perfect. So very interesting film. Definitely recommend watching it if you get the time. I really did not like the actor role for the president in this film because it was Ron Swanson. I love Ron Swanson. Ron Swanson's the man, from Parks and Recreation. Ron Swanson played the role as the president in this film, and it was not a happy ending for him at the end. So just leave it at that. We talked a little bit about Newsom saying he's going to sue Trump or the Trump administration. California Governor Newsom announced that he is suing the Trump administration over the deployment of the U.S. Marines and National Guard to LA protests. He claimed the federalization of the National Guard was an abuse of power and illegal, as the president acted without the state's consent. Newsom argued that the Trump administration's actions violated the 10th Amendment, infringing on the state's authority and controlling state resources without proper federalization. Yeah, because look at how good of a job he's doing out there, right? He and Attorney General Bonta seek a court order to declare Trump's actions unlawful and to prevent the federal government from taking control of the California National Guard without the governor's approval. The lawsuit also highlights that the Department of Defense did not coordinate with the governor or the National Guard before mobilizing the troops. Yeah, I guess he would much rather have, whatever. I'm not even going to get into it. Listen to this. Well, maybe a little bit, but according to reports, Donald Trump suggested that Tom Homan, the border czar in his administration, should arrest California Governor Gavin Newsom. This was amid rising tensions over the handling of protests in LA relating to Trump's immigration crackdown efforts, as Newsom has objected to Trump's deployment of the National Guard without his consent. Trump even dared Homan to arrest Newsom. Politico reported that Trump said he would do it if I were Tom. When asked by a reporter what crime Newsom would have committed, Trump responded by saying, "I think his primary crime is running for governor because he's done such a bad job." Hello. Newsom responded to the threat on X, calling it an unmistakable step towards authoritarianism and the acts of dictator, not a president. The New York Times reported that Newsom also shared a video of Trump's comments on X and pinned it to the top of his feed for prominence. Politico also reported that Newsom said he is moving forward with legal action against the Trump administration for illegally federalizing the National Guard. Drama. All right, so what are the legal implications of this? We've got the Posse Comitatus Act, generally prohibits the use of military, including federalized National Guard troops and civilian law enforcement functions. Exceptions exist when explicitly authorized by law. such as the Insurrection Act, or under specific circumstances related to federal property or personnel. There you go. So the Insurrection Act. Now, let me ask you, do you think that the Insurrection Act, in this circumstance, when you have paid protesters, or most likely what appears to be paid protesters, that are acting violent, do you think that it's authorized, especially at this level? Now, did you see the video footage where psycho protesters were violently throwing rocks at police cars and Border Patrol SUVs? I saw this one video where this guy is just standing on the side of the road. He probably threw 50 or 60 rocks at windows. Not one of those Border Patrol stopped. Not one of those police officers stopped their cars, which tells me it's either so bad out there that they're scared to get out of their vehicle, or they were told from the higher ups, stand down, stand down. So that's my theory right now. I can't prove this, but it appears, in my opinion, that what was going on in that video was somebody at the higher level told the Border Patrol, told the feds, told the police, stand down. And so the video you get is of all these Border Patrol and police cars driving down the road while psychopaths are throwing rocks at their windows. Yeah. Yeah. Cue the deer. Cue the deer. So, just saying. Not a good idea. Matter of fact, if they catch any of these dudes, I wouldn't be surprised if they make an example out of them. However, how many of them are from another country anyway? I don't know. So let's look at this. How many times has the National Guard been federalized? We talked a little bit about this earlier. We've got the civil rights era. President Eisenhower, Kennedy, and Johnson federalized the National Guard to enforce civil rights, notably during the desegregation of schools and the Selma Montgomery March. Isn't it insane to think that there were segregated schools just 50 years ago or whatever? Isn't that crazy? I mean, how primitive does that seem to you now? Like, anyway, we're all people, what does it matter? Anyway, sorry, that's a whole other podcast. But we've got civil unrest that is noted here. Presidents have federalized the National Guard to support law enforcement during periods of civil unrest, the Detroit riots, the King assassination riots, and the Los Angeles riots. So 67, 68, and 92. Recent events, June 2025, the National Guard was federalized by President Trump to address immigration protests in LA. Yep, we know about that. Let's go to the next one here. How about the Marines? So the exact number of times the Marines, hoorah, have been used. Sorry if I did that wrong. I just got excited for a minute. Marines are tough, man. Have been used on U.S. soil. It's difficult to determine given their involvement in domestic operations since the nation's early days. Here's some key instances, though. In the early days, the War of 1812 and beyond. Have you heard of the War of 1812? Marines participated in defense during the War of 1812, including the defense of Washington and the Battle of New Orleans. They have also been involved in internal security, like at Harper's Ferry in 1859. Disaster relief and humanitarian aid. The Marines have assisted in domestic disaster relief operations such as flood and hurricane relief efforts. For instance, they rescued over 1,700 people during the Georgia floods in 1994. Responding to civil disturbances. The military, including the Marines, has been deployed domestically during civil disturbances. Marines were sent to address civil unrest in LA in 1992 after the Rodney King verdict. They have also recently been deployed to LA for immigration protests. Yes, we know that. The Marines have been involved in drug interdiction operations as well. The Posse Comitatus is a Latin phrase meaning the power of the country in the context of British and American law. It refers to a group of citizens assembled by a sheriff or other law enforcement official to assist in maintaining public order or pursuing lawbreakers. This concept is illustrated in the classic image of a posse gathered in a Western film to chase down outlaws. So the purpose is to limit the federal military's role in domestic law enforcement, and it was passed in 1878 following the Reconstruction era, partly to limit federal intervention in the South. Primarily applies to the Army and the Air Force, with a separate statute covering the Navy and Marine Corps. The Insurrection Act allows the president to use the military in cases of insurrection or domestic violence when necessary to enforce federal law or protect civil rights. Now, at least the way that the media, these videos that we're seeing of these psychopaths throwing rocks at police cars and other cars, I mean, would you say that the Insurrection Act is now authorized because of those psychopaths? Or do you think that it should just unfold without National Guard and Marines? I really, truly want to read your comments in the comment section. I'll get to that in a minute. Other statutory exceptions. Congress has authorized military involvement in specific cases, such as protecting federal property or providing support to civilian law enforcement. And obviously the constitutional exceptions, circumstances expressly authorized by the Constitution. Now, the National Guard is generally not covered by the Act unless federalized. So there you go. In summary, Posse Comitatus refers both to the historical concept of a citizens group aiding law enforcement and to the federal law that limits the military's involvement in civilian affairs. This law is a crucial aspect of maintaining the separation of military and civilian power within the United States. Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. You remember the Rodney King incident, right? Oh, I remember it well. I remember it very well. Like I said, I was just a little kid at the time. I was playing hooky. I'm at home. I'm like, okay. So anytime that I stayed home, my parents wouldn't let me play that day. That was kind of like, not necessarily a punishment, but they thought, okay, if you don't feel good enough to go to school, then you're not going to be able to go out and play with your friends. So I knew going into those days that I pretended to not, I'm like, oh, Mom, I just don't feel good. My parents were really cool. They're like, okay, you want to stay home? Fine, stay home. So, but you can't play with your friends. So that was the sacrifice that I had to make. Anyway, I remember the day I'm watching it, and I'm watching Rodney King. I think it was even live. He's like, he's up there, press conference. Can't we all just get along? And then videos of all these, crazy people busting down windows, breaking into stores, stealing TVs, stealing appliances, stealing electronics, stealing all this stuff. Like, it's almost as if some people are waiting for this event we're waiting for an event like that to take place so they can just go steal stuff and act like crazy people. I don't know. But when you get hundreds of crazy people, or you get hundreds of people together that might be typically normal or typically calm, things can get hairy really fast. Just look it up. How much lower does the IQ drop? How many points does the IQ drop when you're in large groups? And it also depends on the kind of large group that you're in. So, you might be normal a little bit, but you've got that just burning desire to do something crazy, right? Like, you just got this burning desire to go break the law. And if everybody else is doing it, well, you're going to do it too. Not a good idea, but that seems to be what happens oftentimes. So I remember watching the streets of LA. You've got helicopters filming these people going crazy, busting stuff, acting like just crazy people. That's the term I'm going to use. And my opinion. And so I'm like, okay, we've got something very similar to that now. It's almost as if there's people behind the scenes that feed off of this unrest, that have so much money and completely different beliefs that they use their money and their beliefs and the system. They infiltrate the system to help create these riots, and somehow they profit off of it, whether it's mentally or physically or both. I don't know, but it definitely seems agenda driven here. So that's the Rodney King incident. If you don't know about it, I mean, you're not Gen X if you don't know about the Rodney King stuff, because that's total Gen X. But let's see here. Yeah, so this is where I was doing like the deep search. I was doing a deep search. I actually screenshotted that Craigslist job posting and uploaded it through Google search images. And that was that recent page that we just saw. It didn't come up with that exact page, but it came up with a bunch of different stuff that I thought was similar. But actually, I did some more research and found that that posting was taken down off of Craigslist. So if you're just joining us, let me show you this posting again that has been making its rounds. Here we go. Los Angeles, Craigslist, Central LA, General Labor, looking for the toughest badasses in the city. Seeking extremely tough, brave men for a new crew I'm building. Compensation, $6,500 to $12,500 per week. Now, once again, we don't know what exactly this job posting is for, other than somebody's looking for some tough people. We can't say yet that this posting was hiring people to go act like terrorists, basically, in violent protests. How many people have been arrested for throwing rocks at cars? And how many people have been seriously injured or worse by getting a rock thrown at them? And now they're showing videos of people like just, oh, there's another one. Whoo, there's another one. Whoo, there's another one. Whoo, like 50 in a freaking row. And none of them stopped. Not one of them stopped. So once again, they're either in fear for their life or somebody above them said, stand down, just keep driving. Let these psychopaths dig their own, you know what. So I don't know, but it doesn't look good. And I've seen ads like this before on Craigslist for other things that are very, very peculiar. Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. So what else have I got here? Just so you know, the 1st Marine Division is the oldest, largest, and most decorated Marine division. Headquartered at Camp Pendleton, California, the division is a force of 20,000 men and women organized to conduct combat operations. The 1st Marine Division is an adaptable expeditionary force in readiness, generating, deploying, and returning forces in support of global force management. The division stands ready to conduct contingency response requirements and is prepared to deploy as a scalable ground combat element to defeat peer, near peer, and hybrid threats across the range of military operations. Now, the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, is a light infantry battalion of the United States Marine Corps. It is based at the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center in 29 Palms, California. And the battalion is part of the 7th Marine Regiment and the 1st Marine Division. Yeah. Yep. I'm reading through some of your comments right now. I want to read your comments here. What do we got going on? Okay, Mike, if that's the way you really think, like, first of all, yeah, throwing rocks at cars is crazy. So if you were throwing rocks at cars as a kid, you were acting crazy, and you know it. Doesn't mean you're crazy now, but that act was absolutely crazy, and it was violent. So anyway, to be an adult and do that at law enforcement, yeah, that's pretty freaking crazy, Mike. It'd be interesting if we could go back to the person that posted that ad. You would think that the feds would be all over finding out who posted that ad. And if that ad is legit, once again, this ad could be complete nonsense. That Craigslist job posting could be just a complete psyop for all we know. That's why I'm saying, if you see something like that, you can't say for sure that is, oh, that's it. Because we don't know. This is pure speculation right now. This is pure theory, live action role play, opinion kind of stuff. We don't know. But we can definitely look into it more. And I'll tell you who could find out if that's legit or not. The feds. They could look at who posted it, when it was posted, and they could follow the money trail back. And they could find out if anybody was hired, who looked at, I mean, there's plenty of ways to figure out if that's legit or not at certain levels. But being internet warriors like we are right now, we just have the information that we're finding on the internet and it's being shared in social media. And that could just be another wag the dog, follow this carrot at the end of the stick type scenario. So be very careful in believing this kind of stuff is, for sure. That's all that I have to say on that. But what we did find in doing some more research, let me share this with you real quick, is a list of locations where protests are being planned right here. And I just went over this with you a little while ago on this podcast, but if you're just joining us, here is a list of cities that are part of this controlled, planned protest narrative. Is that coming through? Yes. So, peaceful protests, right on. Protests that don't hurt other people, right on. When you start threatening violence, that's a whole other ballgame. And when you have people from other countries coming in with masks on, creating havoc and being violent, that's a whole different ballgame, folks. That's a whole different ballgame. So this is what I wanted to share with you, though. This is something that I, in my opinion, what I see going on right now with the overall psychological process of these protests and the the videos of these protests that are becoming violent, it appears that somebody or something is trying to create not only division, but also, like, how do I put this the right way? You're going to have a lot of people that are going to be going, yeah, bring in the military, bring in the National Guard, do it. Just look at what's going on right now in LA. They have to have the military there because of this onslaught of psychopaths and crazy protesters. So it's going to create more division, where you're going to have people that are like, yeah, bring in the military, do what you need to do. Hoorah, get these guys out of here. And then you're going to have the other side that's like, well, the only reason this is happening is because President Trump brought in the National Guard in the first place. It would have never happened if he didn't do that. So, it's just complete nonsense, in my opinion. But it's also what's happening to the psyche of the population. So it could be a slippery slope if it continues to happen, but at what level, at what degree? Right now, it very much so seems justified to many. But will it get to a point? Can the powers that be use something like this and continue to do, like, what if it was orchestrated on all sides to create, now this is just a what if live action role play, just talking out loud here, I have no idea, but could you imagine if there was something out there that was able to orchestrate all of these different sides to create an overall mindset or impact on society, to where anytime we hear on the news that the Marines are being deployed or troops are being deployed on the streets, we'll look at it as the new norm. The new norm. We'll just call it that. Marines on the streets is the new norm. And nobody blinks an eye anymore because of all the violence that took place the past several months. I don't know. Somebody says, well, what if that job posting was an ad to fight the rioters? See, what if? We don't know. What if the ad was just for a group of people, like a bunch of bodyguards for an event that's coming up besides these protests? We just don't know. What if it was a made up ad so that we'd talk about it and think that it was for these these psychopaths throwing rocks at police cars? I don't know. Let's keep our eyes and ears peeled on this. Be prepared, not scared, obviously. Alan says, it wasn't a protest. It was a broflex. Oh, man. Belmoridin says, we, the people, are citizens and share common bonds and have stake in our country, making us equal. Right on. What if you call it a riot? Retro says, there's always a younger generation that's never been to jail. So curious. To swarm police is a good way to find out. Yeah. Count wants more snacks. I hear you. Snacks can be good. An innocent man says, they're domestic terrorists. Laid Back says, follow the paper trail. Nina says, stay safe, USA. The Real Dutch Wolf, hello from the Netherlands. Hello from Southern Colorado. High elevation. How the heck are you? SK, much love to you. Thank you very much. Checks in the mail, bro. Retro says, triggering events sponsored by news cameras. Have you noticed that they've been showing the same footage over and over and over again? Desert Rose knows what's up. Good to see you, Rose. It's been a while. How are you doing? Much love to you and your family. I hope you're doing well. Yeah. Why can't we all just get along? Well, because people don't want us to get along. Rex, you should look into St. Augustine, Florida. There's a labyrinth underneath Flagler College. It would love to see you. That sounds pretty cool. I might be going to Florida here in the next couple of months. A good friend of mine's getting married, and he invited me out there. So I'm going to do I'm going to work hard on making it out there. Micah, congratulations, brother. I'm really, really happy for you. Free Soul says he thinks that the tactics being used right now are just too organized. Luna says, yeah, maybe a psyop. Sir Ophis says 3,000 illegals a day doesn't make sense. Cosmic says they always have it on a loop. Yeah, the video feeds, they say it's live, but it's on a loop. So it was live at one point, but it's not live while you're watching it. Electric, I think that's a good call. Electric blames swamp gas from Uranus. Thumbs up, right on. You never know. Chris says thousands of years of old tactics of Rome. What's up, Coast? How you doing? Good to see you. Who else we got in here? Well, thanks for watching, Colin. You got an awesome last name, man. O'Brien. O'Brien, Irish. I love the Irish. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to attempt to answer them for you. But I want to thank you so much for being here with me. I'll probably do another update this evening, definitely tomorrow. We do live shows pretty much every day now. And we've been uploading a bunch of exclusive content over on our Patreon that we can only talk about on Patreon. So you want to jump on over to our Patreon page and listen to our podcast. We have like thousands of hours of exclusive content on there. Get a Goat says he believes this is a design riot to make Trump look like a tyrant. You know, it's interesting because like I was saying earlier, you've got this division. You're going to have, one side that's going to say that and think that, but then you're going to have another side that's going to look at these masked terrorists basically throwing rocks at police cars. And you're going to see these masked terrorists holding flags from other nations, standing up on burning cars that they just burnt like they're the king of the world. And you're going to have people see that and they're going to say, no, bring in the troops, bring them in as quick as possible. So I can see both sides here. And like I said, I almost wonder who else is behind the scenes. Is there something so advanced? Maybe they use supercomputer technologies now to predict certain scenarios. Like you've got a computer that can calculate so many floating points per second that if you took all 7 billion people on the planet, you could calculate 100,000 scenarios per person per second in this one supercomputer to evaluate what the potential outcome is. And then you could potentially have a group of people that want to create certain situations in society and say, oh, what would be a great way to get an outcome of X? Well, let's put in these parameters of Y and Z, or A and B and C and D, and see what the ultimate outcome is. Oh, that's what we do. What time do we do it? Well, let's do it in June. Why in June? Well, because in May we had this event that took place that brings us closer to the mindset of full martial law, potentially. Civil unrest. You can't have things too comfortable. Or, as Desert Rose says, divide and conquer. So, all right, everybody, have a beautiful day. Thanks for watching. These are just ideas. These are just opinions. Be safe, be prepared, not scared, be excellent to each other, help people, do not hurt them, help people as much as you can. Sometimes people need reminding, not everybody. I'm sure you're all doing that already, but just a friendly reminder. Use your head. Don't go crazy. Keep an even kill. Harder said than done, I know. But have a beautiful day and be grateful. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. So grateful. So thankful. And I'm thankful for all of you. And be the change you want to see, everybody. Nanny, nanny.